Colleague from Illinois, Mr. Kirk, who is the principal Republican sponsor of this bill. Before doing that, however, I want to note that Mr. Kirk was also a principal sponsor of a commemorative coin honoring disabled American veterans that will help fund a memorial to them that is scheduled to be built between the Rayburn and the Ford buildings, and this chamber owes him a round of appreciation for all of his hard work on those important issues.
The chair recognizes the gentleman from Illinois for as much time as he may consume.
I thank the chair, I thank the chairman, and also thank the opportunity to speak in praise of my colleague, Chris Carney of Pennsylvania. It's no accident that Chris and I work on a number of pieces of legislation, because the bond between us forged in the United States Navy is stronger than any partisan bond. And he has become a real hero to me in building these bipartisan efforts to commemorate our men and women in uniform. Now, we put forward H.R. 1209, the Medal of Honor Commemorative Coin Act, and it is bipartisan legislation under the rules of the House that had to get over 290 co-sponsors that we think will help the foundation raise over $5 million for their benefit. As everyone knows, the Medal of Honor is the nation's highest award for valor in action against an enemy force. And it symbolizes how uniformed Americans have gone above and beyond the call of duty in defense of our nation. Today, I'm wearing a Navy Commendation Medal, which in my view is about 17 ranks below what is given in the Medal of Honor. 3,400 medals awarded today, but we're focusing our effort on especially the 97 living recipients that are among us. People like Al Lynch of Gurnee, Illinois, a man who serves on my Veterans Advisory Board and I know and respect. Like many of us veterans, when one of the Medal of Honor recipients walks into a room wearing that very unique insignia, everyone goes silent. And I will say, at least from my experience, and I think from other veterans, we all know where a Medal of Honor recipient is in the room for as long as he is in the room. Al grew up in our area, went to high school, enlisted in the Army, and in 1966 volunteered for service in Vietnam as a rifleman and a radio platoon operator. In December '67, his company was deployed to Bong Song area of the Central Highlands, and after a month of almost daily fighting with the enemy, his unit was ordered to the rear for rest and recuperation, but that rest was short-lived because the company which was relieved was ambushed. As Al's platoon was mobilized the next morning, he saw 3 wounded men, and not thinking of himself, he dashed across 50 meters of open ground through a hail of enemy fire and carried them one by one to safety. When his company was forced to withdraw, it was Al who remained to aid his comrades rather than abandoning them, and for 2 hours he defended their position against an advancing enemy. Following this heroic action, he located the counterattacking friendly company to assist in that attack and evacuate the 3 casualties. He completed successfully his tour in Vietnam, was sent to Fort Hood, Texas, where he was discharged from the Army in 1969. A year later, just before he was to be married, he learned that for these actions he would receive the Medal of Honor, and on May 14, 1970, President Nixon presented it to him. We also commemorate men like Sammy Davis of Flat Rock, Illinois. On December 18, 1967, while serving as a cannoneer in a remote fire support base just west of My Lai, Vietnam, he came under heavy mortar attack. Sergeant Davis single-handedly fired his howitzer several times at the enemy. Undaunted by a mortar blast which landed 20 meters from his position wounding him, he continued to fight. Disregarding his extensive injuries and his inability to swim, Sergeant Davis used an air mattress to rescue 3 wounded comrades trapped on the other side of the river with the Viet Cong. Upon reaching the wounded men, he stood and fired in the dense vegetation to prevent the enemy from advancing. You may slightly recognize Sergeant Davis's story because it was the model for the iconic movie Forrest Gump, which was largely based on his experience and led to the presentation of the Medal of Honor to him, which footage from that presentation to Sergeant Davis was actually used in the movie with Tom Hanks's head superimposed on the body of Sammy Davis. On July 11, 1969, Captain, then First Lieutenant Hal Fritz of Peoria, was seriously wounded when he was suddenly ambushed escorting a truck convoy in a 7-vehicle armored column near Con Loy in Vietnam. After realizing his platoon was completely surrounded, he ran from vehicle to vehicle in order to reposition his men, assist the wounded, and provide encouragement. When the enemy attempted to overrun the platoon, Captain Fritz manned a machine gun and inspired his comrades to break the assault. Moments later, a second enemy force advanced, and only with a pistol and a bayonet, Captain Fritz led his small group of men in a daring charge that routed the attackers. When relief arrived, Captain Fritz stayed to manage the troops, and when he saw they were not being deployed effectively despite his wound, refused medical attention and organized everything until his wounded comrades were treated and evacuated. Maybe the most dramatic story that we have in Illinois comes on the day of January 8, 1945. During a battle near Kaiserburg, France, Sergeant Russell Dunham of Jerseyville, Illinois, single-handedly assaulted 3 enemy machine guns using a white robe made of mattress cover as camouflage. Sergeant Dunham crawled 75 yards under heavy fire as he jumped to his feet 10 yards from the gun. A rifle bullet hit him, creating a 10-inch gash across his back, sending him spinning 15 yards down the hill into snow. In excruciating pain, he got back up and renewed a one-man assault. After kicking aside a German egg grenade, Sergeant Dunham shot and killed a German machine gunner and assistant gunner. Sergeant Dunham then proceeded 50 yards through a storm of enemy fire to destroy a second machine gun by throwing 2 grenades into the emplacement. Under heavy fire from both machine guns and grenades, Dunham again advanced by crawling farther up the hill. At a range of 15 yards, he jumped to his feet and killed the crew of a timbered machine gun emplacement with hand grenades. Despite a painful wound, Sergeant Dunham spearheaded a spectacular attack which saved many of his men. He just passed away a month ago. These stories of these 4 Illinois residents are just a few of the many extraordinary acts of heroism by soldiers and sailors and airmen who went beyond the call of duty in the face of grave danger. The legislation authored by Congressman Carney before us, H.R. 1209, is important because it will serve as a reminder for these brave men and women, still numbering 90 strong, to promote the qualities the Medal of Honor embodies. As the first U.S. representative to be deployed into an imminent danger area since World War II, I know many of the sacrifices and challenge that men and women in our armed forces face. I think almost every morning about the men and women I served with in Afghanistan when I left there in January. This legislation helps us recognize the true heroes among that cadre. Hopefully, I think we'll have some more heroes emerge from conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan that are award winners. But today, we mark the 90 who are living and those 3,400 who all received the medal. This legislation will help us raise money for the foundation, will help us advance the values that these awardees embody, and teach us a very, very painful but important lesson about how important this country is, how valuable it is, and how much it takes to defend her. And I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman from Minnesota reserves.